One, go. Hello and welcome to the SO Summit 2020 and welcome to the panel Growth of the Fintech Industry. We are joined today by Mr. Madhusudanan R, who is the co-founder of YAP. Mr. Madhusudanan has about 15 years of experience in payments, and his last role was the head of prepaid and financial inclusion products for India and South Asia at Visa. He has been an enthusiastic and a visionary person from the very beginning, which has enabled him to launch YAP and help the firm to grow and achieve its planned goals. YAP works with about 20 banks and 250 plus fintech engagements. Over the last 5 years, YAP has turned out to be the largest neo-banking platform and prepaid card provider of the country. Madhu, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shilpa. It's great to be here.
So, Madhu, let's kickstart. So, we've been experiencing a huge wave of fintech companies. Tell us a little about how and when did this all start?
Yeah, I think fintech as a theme and as an idea has been around for more than a decade now. So in India particularly, it started, in the first wave, it started with companies helping banks in terms of sourcing customers. So what at the heart of it, what is fintech, right? So there is finance and technology sort of coming together. So banks are not the best friends of technology, as many of us know. So what happens is that at that opportunity where banks fail or the inefficiency that banks exhibit, technology companies actually come in and provide financial services in a better and a tech-enabled sort of fashion, right? So that's what broadly gets defined as fintech, right? Where you take financial services, you take technology and make life simpler for people. So obviously, in the last decade or so, we have had rapid acceleration of mobile and how our life has changed, or whether it's communication or banking and in general the whole mobility that how it has made our life simpler. So it's been a 10-12 year old journey, so to speak, from a fintech standpoint. In India particularly, it's also aided by a lot of macro factors that has come in the way, right? Like, for example, what started out first as just a sourcing channel, right? So you could go online, pre-mobile era, you could search for a credit card product or a personal loan product, right? So you'll have some marketplace or platform that will come in and say, we have these 4 banks as option. You can, these are the interest rate and things like that. That's what it started out as. Gradually, it kind of moved into payments. So I'm sure many of the listeners are aware. In 2013-14, you had a number of wallet companies that came in. The likes of Paytm started around that time. And then demonetization actually nudged the whole wallet play into a higher orbit, which led to other products and services that came in, right? So if you look back, 10 years, it started with payments and it moved into lending. Now we call it as neobank, and the whole world is going through what is called as an embedded financial services play, which I'll talk about maybe as we go along.
Great. Thank you, Madhu. So, YAP was founded in 2015. Can you share a little bit about how YAP came to life and what draws it apart from other payment solutions available in India and overseas?
Sure. I think the idea of this company germinated from the fact that, when my co-founder and I were colleagues in Visa, we used to deal with a number of banks, number of new companies that are trying to solve for payments. The challenge that we saw while we were in our roles, we realized that it was very hard for new businesses or new companies to come in and work with banks. And because of the nature of how banks are structured, it was extremely difficult to put a product out in the market. It used to take a couple of years for anybody to actually bring out a product. So what we actually set out to do was to see how we can simplify this whole journey in terms of if Shilpa starts a business today which is helping companies or consumers get better banking products, can that journey get accelerated, right? So can we help Shilpa to launch a product in 2 months or 3 months instead of 2 years? So that was the idea behind starting up. So, and as a proof of whatever little that we have done, we have like 250 plus companies that work with us and use our platform. Banks also see us as an enabling infrastructure. We support a lot of banks in India. We support about 20 odd banks where, they use our platform and they are able to, go to market faster. They're able to serve their customers better.
Great. So, Madhu, tell us what are the critical challenges you faced through your startup journey until now?
I think the challenges can be broken into what phase of the company that you are in, right? When you initially when we started, even now to a large extent, you don't have what's called as a parallel, right? So if Uber was there in the US, so it made life easier for Ola to launch it in India, right?
Correct.
Likewise, every company has a parallel in some other part of the world, which makes it easier. In the business that we were in when we started, there weren't any parallel all across Asia in terms of companies that are trying to sit in the middle between businesses and banks and make it all work. So this whole idea and this whole proposition selling to banks and making them believe that this can be useful for them was the first sort of challenge that we ran into. The other was obviously, we were bootstrapped for a long period of time. Getting people, to join us as as part of the team and make them believe in the idea and sort of sustain that for a long period of time was the other challenge. But those are so we can sort of say with reasonable confidence that we have passed those phases, right? Now it's about scaling. Now it's about getting more revenues, and those are the kind of challenges that we encounter.
Brilliant. Madhu, this year particularly has been unusual for the
Yeah,
entire world. Can you
right.
tell us how has COVID helped or affected your industry?
So overall, I think COVID has been, uh, positive. The tailwinds will be visible for a few years now. A lot of people actually attribute saying, a decade or two has happened in the last 5 6 months. So this is one of the sectors which has had a positive impact because what happens is that when you are coerced into doing something, that habit forming happens, naturally, and it never goes back, right? Like for example, you will not think about paying with cash anymore at a grocer, which was a choice that you always had, right? So you still don't want to, you really feel cash is dirty now, right? So it's not the cliche. So thereby, some of these habits that have got formed is here to stay, which is a very good positive news from an industry and an ecosystem standpoint. Having said which, obviously, all of us around the world have gone through a lot of pain economically, right? So it impacts our businesses as well because we are a subset of the larger sort of economy and ecosystem.
True.
So there is pain in the short to medium term. But I believe that in the overall sort of tailwinds that we've got around this business, it is going to be net positive as far as we are concerned.
That's good news to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
Madhu, a while back you were sharing with us how one of the most important verticals of YAP is lending. Can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about how this can help the startups?
So what happens is that in markets like India, where you have a lot of people who are out of the formal, financial services net, new companies come in and try to innovate, right? That's where the fintech
Correct.
business opportunity lies. So when they try to do that, there are areas where you could specialize in terms of how well you as a company can focus on. For example, we have a number of companies that are coming in and saying we will help students get access to a loan better, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Culturally we don't want young adults to fall into a debt trap, right?
Correct.
That's how culturally we are. If you ask any senior in any family, they'll say
Yeah.
you should never borrow, right?
Yes.
But with borrowing comes financial responsibility and prudence. So thereby there's a lot of companies that are trying to actually inculcate that good behavior, inculcate that prompt repayment habit. So all of this is helping them to actually mature as an individual in terms of looking at how do I manage my finances better, right? So there is at one level we have a number of companies that are trying to do that, whereby they are actually getting new people into the formal lending ecosystem, which means that the moment they start creating their own identity in terms of borrowing and repaying and all of that, they are going to be a beneficiary of that, right? When they go out to buy a car or when they go out to buy a home, they will get at better terms because they already have a proven sort of track record. So
Correct.
that is very interesting, and it's a step change to how we as a market was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, right? That's what fintech has enabled.
Brilliant. And it's also what it has also done is that it has made the whole process of borrowing and lending seem more seamless and
Correct. That's right.
transparent.
That's right. Yeah. So we are fortunate. I think as a market, we have a lot of things that are going right in the sense. For example, if you have to take a SIM card, you
Yeah,
don't need to carry documents, right? So you can
correct,
virtually go give your biometric fingerprint and take the SIM card in real time.
correct,
Many other parts of the world, it is still is a pipe dream. It doesn't it's not there. So likewise, you could sit at home, download an app, get a few lakh rupees given by someone without moving out of your couch, right?
correct.
So that's what has happened in the last 3 or 4 years, which is phenomenal. And a lot of this gets discounted and it doesn't get recognized only when you go out and see in other parts of the world. You realize the value of the underpinnings that are there in the larger sort of ecosystem that is enabling some of this. So to that extent, we are at a sweet spot. Both us as an organization as well as an ecosystem where this is going to sort of ramp up in the next 5 to 10 years.
So, in the same line of thought, Madhu, let me ask you, many startups are heading the fintech way, which you just mentioned. It's kind of
Right.
laying the ground for a lot of startups to take up, fintech as an initiative or as an option. What would be your
Yeah.
advice to them?
So I think so there is as I said, there is a lot of opportunity that is there on the table. With a lot of opportunity, you also have a lot of competition coming in, right? So people will try to do the same idea. If you're getting an idea, highly likely that there are like 20 other people with a similar idea, right? It just then becomes your ability to execute. So the most important thing then is to find a core set of people. They may not be co-founders or they may not have the same caliber as you, but you'll have to do it like a team, right? So it's like a T20 sort of cricket match. You need to have that team, and the 11 players have to contribute. You cannot have catches being dropped. So that's the most important thing, right? So if you are able to assemble a team, have a great idea, and you're able to execute well, there is reasonable amount of chance of success that is there, given considering other factors like funding and market size and all of that are sort of in play. But I think there is also at least from where we sit, we see a lot of mid tier executives who are burnt out, want to start. It's not an excuse for you to actually start just because your friend is doing it, right? They are working on an inside. It's not like I got bored with my current job, so I'm going to switch job. Instead of that, let me try. It doesn't work that way. It's really really hard to actually start and run a company. So thereby, my request and advice to a lot of founders is, or people who are aspiring to start, is to really be, comfortable with the idea that you are starting up, and you should be ready to sort of sacrifice 2 3 years. It may, after 3 years, you may realize that it is not working out. So it's a time sink that you have to take for 2 or 3 years, right? And if that conviction is there, then certainly there's a lot of opportunity that is there in the market.
Thank you, Madhu. And as a final thought, let me ask you, you've been a visionary and an extremely enthusiastic and curious individual, and precisely why YAP has done so well in the past
Yeah.
5 years. What would be your success mantra?
I think we have, so in a lot of things that we do, we keep empathy at the center of what we do, whether it's our customers, whether it's our own people. So we have not put profits over people. That's the most important thing that we would continue to sort of have that as our core operating sort of principle. And rest is all luck, is how I would put it, right? So you just keep executing, things will fall in place.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Madhu. It's been such an enriching and learning experience. I'm sure all those companies who are, making their headway to fintech, they have a lot of takeaway points. Thank you for joining us for the SOUR Summit, and we hope to see you around soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. Thanks a lot.